Today's online Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust meetup. Today we have a discussion about how to prepare for the Hyperledger Fabric and Besu certification exams, and we have Navil Rodrigues here today. So with that, Navil, please.
Thank you for the introduction, David. Uh, hi everyone. Uh, my name is Navil Rodrigues. I'm currently working as a senior associate blockchain at NPCA, which stands for National Payments Corporation of India. I've been a former certified Hyperledger Fabric developer. This exam has been discontinued, and I am also Hyperledger Fabric certified practitioner, which we are going to talk about this in our presentation. Uh, yeah, throughout my career, I have worked on public blockchain, private blockchain, the software development, the front end, as well as the infrastructure side. So maybe you can ask me questions when we are done with the questions, and uh, I think we can have this session interactive. So yeah, let's get started. So who would the target audience be? So this is developer focused, like those who are IT professionals and those who wants to have a knowledge about the Hyperledger Fabric and the Besu client, Hyperledger Besu. So it is focused for them. But uh, for us to have everyone on the same page, I will be starting very basics, like what the blockchain is, and then different types, and what this certifications brings to you, and how would they contribute in your career. So we will be focusing on that. Uh, so yeah, so this would be the list of topics that I will be covering here. So we start by what the blockchain is, then the types of blockchain. Uh, Then we are going to delve into what Hyperledger Fabric is. Then what are the syllabus and the topics that you need to cover if you want to pass this certification exam. Then we begin for preparing for the Besu. So in order to do that, we will understand what is Ethereum, then how Ethereum and Hyperledger Fabric are different. And we will be covering topics that are for Besu certified professional exam. And then we would be covering what are the technical skills that you need to be in order to be a smart contract developer. And I would be sharing a resources which you can maybe go through these slides later and uh, prepare for the examination. So let's start with the overview. So what is blockchain? So before with that, so what used to happen in the ancient marketplace is like the traders used to come across all over the world in order to trade goods. So let's say suppose India come up with spices, China come up with silk, maybe Greece come up with wine. Okay, and they used to trade this good. So the biggest challenge that they used to face was to establish the trust. Like how would the trust be established between these traders? So in order to resolve the issue, what they used to do is they used to have a middleman. Okay, so they used to trust this middleman and they used to trade these goods. But again, how much you can trust this middleman? There was a risk always associated with trusting the middleman. They can fraud you anytime. So so now fast forward to digital age from ancient market. Internet is this new marketplace, and we are still facing this same old challenge. So again, it is a trust. So how can we establish this trust? So here's enters blockchain. So blockchain is basically a digital ledger, or you can say a global spreadsheet. So instead of storing the data in one place, it is stored in multiple places. So let's say suppose if there is a record to be made into the ledger or blockchain. So a party or a person who wants to make this transaction would make a transaction, and then the participants into this, you can say, network would approve this with the majority, and then the data would be inserted into this blockchain. So you can think of like a transparent, uh, uh, untampered chain of blocks as blockchain. So coming to the different types of blockchain, we have public blockchain. So you can think public blockchain that does not have any central authority. So the most prominent examples would be Bitcoin and Ethereum. So these are perfect examples. So anyone can participate into this network, validate transactions, and view the database, view the ledger. So it's like global, open to all, and everyone can read and write, but nobody owns and controls it. The security and trust comes from the collective participation from the community or the users worldwide. Next, we move on to the hybrid blockchain. So it is controlled by one authority, but has some permissionless process. So the prominent example that we have is IBM Food Trust platform. So in onto this platform, retailers and suppliers collaborate with some controlled access, and this helps users to track the food that is delivered to them from supply chain to the whole basically supply chain cycle. So basically this hybrid blockchain combines best of the both worlds, the transparency of public blockchains as well as the control of private ones. So company has the option to share certain data publicly while also keeping sensitive information private. Uh, okay, now comes the private blockchain. So the private blockchain is controlled by a single authority. So let's say suppose a bank's internal blockchain system, like for example, JP Morgan's Quorum platform. So only the trusted and authorized participants who have the access can access the system and validate the transactions. So this is designed in to offer high privacy and efficiency for enterprise solutions. Then we have a consortium blockchain. So it is basically a controlled by a group, or you can say a controlled by an authorized organizations. So it is not controlled by a single entity. So R3 Coda is a perfect example where a consortium of banks and financial institute will collectively manage this network. So yeah, so these different types of blockchains allows organizations to choose the type and the best fits their needs. So it can be a transparency of public blockchains or controlled access of private ones or something in between like hybrid blockchain. So this was about the different types of blockchains. So now that we have covered what are different blockchains, now let's move on to the what Hyperledger Fabric is. This blockchain so is basically an enterprise grade blockchain, and used for enterprise needs. So it is permissioned blockchain. So it gives us the uh, adaptability and privacy, and this was established by under Linux Foundation. So uh, so why is Hyperledger Fabric unique? So unlike public blockchains which are open to everyone, Hyperledger Fabric will be tailored for a particular use case, enterprise use case or businesses. So it often comes with privacy and flexibility, which are crucial for enterprise use cases. So you have the first component, core component, you can say, is peers. So you can think of peers as a trusted entities or notaries of the network. So based on the role that peer have, like endorser or committer, so endorsers checks if the transactions coming into the network are valid, and the committers will check if these transactions are permanently recorded into the blockchain. Then, for example, in supply chain, endorsing peers will verify the product shipment details and see if they are correct or not. Then we have ordering service. So basically, it makes sure that transactions happen in particular sequence, and so you can think of as a traffic controller at a busy intersection. Then you have something called certificate authorities. So this is like issuing the digital identities into the participants into the network. So the participants, you can think of the people who have access to these networks, and different participants will have different certificate authorities based on the roles or based on the access they would want into the system. Then we have channels. So these are particularly interesting. So you can think of it as a private conference rooms where specific participants can conduct their business in complete privacy. So you can think of a sub network into a blockchain network. So only participants who are authorized for that particular channel will have the access. And yeah, so an example would be, say, suppose a car manufacturer is working with multiple suppliers, and each supplier would only see the transactions relevant to them and not the other suppliers. So that's how channel would help us into this network. Then comes the chain code. So this is where you can say real magic happens. So chain codes are basically programs or smart that executes when certain conditions are met. So you can think of self-executing code which executes and these are like this code or chain code is like authorized by participants or organizations that have been uh, formed into this network. So uh, based on the policies that have been set into the network without uh, authorized by all the group into the network, the chain code would not be installed or deployed here. So you can think of them as a vending machines. So you give an input and you get an output. So the next comes is the state database. So this basically keeps track of all the states of the assets. So like a snapshot, real-time snapshot of everything happening into the network. So this is basically a database which keeps the track, and every participant into the network will have the copy of this. Okay, now let's move on to some features, key features. So Hyperledger Fabric is a modular architecture. So what exactly is modular architecture? So it simply means like every component is pluggable. Like you can customize as per your needs. For example, you can customize the database based on your application need, or you can customize the consensus mechanism. What is consensus mechanism? So basically, it is a way or way of agreeing through which the transactions or data is committed into the ledger. So there are different types of this. We will come to this part later, but you can think of it as a way which has been approved by all the participants into the network in order to commit the transaction. Then we have uh, privacy and permission access. So as I said, only authorized members can participate, ensuring data confidentiality. So let's say suppose in financial systems, sensitive transactions are hidden from authorized parties. So this can be achieved in Hyperledger Fabric. Then then we have so as this is a enterprise grade platform, we can customize it in such a way that it would handle thousands of transactions uh, uh, in a second. We also have rich query supports, so you can perform complex queries, which ideally do into the centralized database systems. So let's say suppose you want to retrieve full history of a particular asset, or say suppose particular food item, and you want to see what changes came into when it was delivered to you. Then you have private data collections. So it would help specific data to be shared securely among selected participants into the network. So let's say suppose you want to share price details between a supplier and manufacturer while keeping it hidden from the competitors. So you can achieve it that. Then pluggable consensus mechanism. So basically, as I said before, like you can choose how transactions are validated, and this can be achieved by having it approved with all the participants into the network. So this basically depends on the speed and the security needs of a particular organization. Now, architectural benefits. So this is what the architecture is. So first is execute. So as I said, whenever transaction is initiated, okay, first it goes to the peers. Okay, so there are different types of peers, endorsing, committing. So one of the type is endorsing peer. So basically, this will execute the transaction, and once the transaction is executed, a peer will sign it, saying that this particular transaction is executed. Or you can basically think of running a program to the input given by a user making a transaction. So you execute it, then you send it to the orderer to uh, order it, or order it in a particular sequence. And once the transaction is ordered, then you again send it to the peers to validate it. So that's why it is called execute orderer order validate architecture. Then you have multi-organization and multiple channel support. So as I said, so this Hyperledger Fabric network can be composed of different organizations participating into the network, and into this different organization you have multiple channel support, uh, and which will have data isolation, which is wherever you need it. And let's for example, you can think of a consortium of bank which can share transaction data securely while protecting client privacy. Uh, yeah, no native cryptocurrency is required. So unlike blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum, it doesn't rely on tokens for its operation. So in public blockchain, you need tokens in order to execute the transaction, because it is public, and you need to incentivize the miners, or the one who is executing the transaction. But now, since the Hyperledger Fabric is private and controlled by a consortium or people, so you can there is actually no need of cryptocurrency, because consensus mechanism is totally different here. The way we execute the transaction. Then you get flexible deployment options. So you can host it on clouds like Amazon, IBM, and also you can, since it is open source, you can do it on premise, having full control. Okay, now let's move on to like how will this exam be tailored, and what will the important topics that you would need to cover it. So what is this? What is actually the purpose of this HFCF or Hyperledger Fabric Certified Practitioner certification? So this is used to validate the expertise in Hyperledger Fabric. So the certification would ensure the candidate that it has a deep understanding of this technology, including the fundamentals, architecture, and the implementation skills. So the exam will be 90 minutes. It will be online, proctored, and multiple choice based. So you would need to score 75% marks, uh, and the exam is divided into key main areas which we will be focusing now. So the first is the fundamentals of blockchain. So in here we will be having distributed ledgers. So basically the concept of shared immutable ledgers. So as I said, like all the peers will be having the copy of the blockchain, right? So so this is basically done through ledgers, which are non-tempered, and which are immutable. Then you have smart contracts, which you need to understand, like how you basically install it onto the network, uh, how installation happens, how approval happens, how commit happens, uh, how endorsing peers play a role while installation. And then you have a consensus mechanism, like which would validate the transaction. For example, Byzantine's fault tolerant BFT. Uh, then we move to Hyperledger Fabric network. So the network structure, like the relationship between peers, orderers, and client applications. Then transaction flow, how transactions are created, how transactions are endorsed, ordered, and committed. Then ordering service, to maintain the chronological order of transactions. Then you have peers, which like for example endorsing and committing operations, how do they perform. Then world state storage, like CouchDB, then LevelDB, uh, that maintains the current state of assets. So this particular topic, Hyperledger Fabric Network, covers the most weightage into this exam. So make sure you understand every bit of it. Then moving on comes the smart contract, like design and implementation, best practices for creating efficient and secure smart contracts. Then the life cycle, like the steps for installation to instantiating and updating the chain code. Then you have manipulation, like how do you query the data that is present on the ledger, how do you update it, update the world state database. Then private data handling, like techniques for managing confidential data between specific participants. Then endorsement policies, like defining rules for transaction validation. Uh, then client applications. This again covers 24% of the total weightage. So these are some of the topics that are newly introduced in newer version of Hyperledger Fabric, like 2.4 and plus. So these were not in the earlier version. So the first is the gateway model. So the basically a client app, how it would interact with the network through a gateway peer. So earlier, what used to happen was like client would have to coordinate with all the endorsing peers that are present into the network in order to, you can say, execute the transactions. Okay, but after introducing this gateway model, you just need to interact with one peer, which is gateway peer, and it would do the job of collecting the endorsements and execution from the authorized endorsing peers. Then you have gateway service, which establishes a secure communication between peers and application. Then a smart contract invocation, how to trigger chain code functions from a client app. Chain code and block eventing. So basically subscribing to and reacting to events triggered by chain code execution or new block creation. So uh, yeah, so these are the topics that you need to uh, be very sure. And you have something also called offline signing, which basically is like you instead of doing an on-chain signing or blockchain signing, you uh, first create a transaction proposal, then you sign it using your private key, or you can say hardware wallet. And once you have attached the sign, you can submit it to the blockchain. So I would give you an analogy, like let's say suppose you want to issue a check, bank check to a particular person. So what you would do is you would take your check, you would write an amount, and you would sign it with your hand, right? And then that check you can give it to anyone, so that person will go basically to the bank and withdraw the amount. So that can happen in a less, you can say, secureless way. But the signing would be, you can say, would be a more secured way, because only you are the person who will be signing this. So now let's move on to Ethereum. I think I'm running out of time. I might need to hurry up. So uh, so what is Ethereum? So it is a blockchain platform that would enable smart contracts and decentralized application to run. So Bitcoin was just the transfer of value. Ethereum goes a step ahead, and basically you can run programs uh, in a global computer, you can think, and in a decentralized way. The advantage being you remove intermediaries and empower developers to build innovative solutions. So what are the features? You have smart contracts, so self-executing code, as I said previously. Uh, then uh, you have native cryptocurrency. So this would be a major difference in it. Since Ethereum is a public blockchain, you would need to pay a gas fees or ethers in order to incentivize a person or a miner carrying out this smart contract transaction. Then you have dApps, which can help. You can basically, they are called decentralized applications, which are created and run on the network of nodes instead of centralized servers. So the example will be DeFi platforms like Uniswap, NFT marketplaces like OpenSea. Uh, then you have proof of stake consensus mechanism. So basically, earlier Ethereum used to have a proof of work consensus mechanism, which used to consume a lot of energy because uh, 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 the nature of its working. In here, proof of stake, uh, miners are chosen based on the amount that they stake into the network, and the transactions are, you can say, executed and validated. So it reduced the energy consumption by over 99%. So these are the different use cases, like decentralized finance, the financial activity that you can do traditional way, like lending, borrowing, trading. You can do it in a decentralized way, eliminating the intermediaries. Then NFTs, non-fungible tokens, like representing the real world asset with the ownership of items like art, music, or virtual real estate. Then decentralized autonomous organization, an organization which will be managed completely by smart contracts whose decisions are made by token holders. Then different web applications, for example, Brave browser, uh, where you see the ads, customized ads, and you get paid for it. So why learning Ethereum matters? So it's not just a technology; it's a movement that challenges traditional system. So you get trustless interactions, you get programmability, and you get a decentralized internet. So now let's compare what Ethereum and Hyperledger Fabric is. So, so Hyperledger Fabric, as discussed, is a permission and consortium blockchain, whereas Ethereum is more open, more public blockchain, which is used for different set of applications. Uh, like for example, as I mentioned, DeFi. Uh, then you have use cases like uh, supply chain finance and healthcare. So these are suited for data privacy, security, and permissioned access, uh, where permissioned access is critical. So for Ethereum, there are broad use cases like DeFi, NFT, DAOs, Web3, and even enterprise solutions. You can have this blockchain used for like private use case as well. So in a Hyperledger Fabric, we have consensus mechanism as Raft, Kafka, typically practical Byzantine fault tolerant like. And for Ethereum, we have a proof of stake. Then we have various layer twos solutions wherein you delegate complex work off chain, and then once that work is done off chain, it is again the audit trail or the work that is completed again is committed to the main chain, which can be Ethereum. So we have this different uh, mechanism in place in order to improve the speed. Then smart contracts are typically written in Go or Node.js language. And in Ethereum, it is primarily written in Solidity. You can also use Viper. You have strong private data collections uh, to have the privacy and confidentiality in place. And for privacy and confidentiality in Ethereum, since it is a public, you can have layer 2 solution like ZK knowledge or other private implementations. So Hyperledger Fabric is led by Linux Foundation and governed by enterprise consortiums like IBM. And for Ethereum, we have decentralized community governance. For example, Ethereum improvement proposals where you uh, uh, request a change request and the community people will be making a decision in order to accept or reject that particular governance thing. Then you have token model. So Hyperledger Fabric, as discussed, does not have require a native cryptocurrency model. Although you can build smart contracts and have you can say something like uh, Ethereum Ether token. You can build it like ERC20 token. You can build it. In Ethereum, you have native token as ETH for network fees and staking. So now that we have covered Ethereum and understand how it uh, works, now let's focus on Hyperledger Fabric, Besu. So what is Besu? So Besu is basically an Ethereum client. So you can think of it as a software that you run it on your local machine and you join the Ethereum public network, or you, for your enterprise use case, you create a private network that has some benefits or some requirements that is uh, for that Ethereum network is suited. So for that purpose, you can use Hyperledger Fabric Besu. So uh, okay. Yeah. So we have multiple network supports. So Fabric supports various networks like public network like mainnet or testnet. Then you have private network, consortium network. You have also testnet, and you have development networks as well like uh, Ganache or Hadoop. Then you have multiple consensus mechanism support as well. For example, you can use proof of work, which is often used in Bitcoin network, proof of stake, which was discussed earlier, proof of authority, wherein you have you set up a validators node who are responsible for executing the transaction. And then you have something called QBFT, or you can say quorum Byzantine fault tolerant consensus mechanism. So uh, then you have enterprise grade permissioning, like you decide whom you want to interact with this, join the network or submit transaction. Then you can use tools like Grafana and Prometheus for real-time insights into what is happening into the blockchain. Then you have APIs like GraphQL and JSON RPC APIs, wherein JSON RPC API would be for you to interact with the network or smart contract, and GraphQL would be for you to query the blockchain data. It is EVM compatible, meaning that you can run the smart contracts that are supported by Ethereum, and you can run it as you would. Uh, then developers can basically developers can write the smart contracts in Solidity and deploy them on Basin network. Uh, Coming to the use cases and applications, so enterprise Ethereum applications, like you can use like supply chain tracking, identity verification, tokenization of assets, then private blockchain networks. So enterprise can create private networks for secure and efficient collaboration. Financial services solutions, like for example tokenization, payment processing, cross-border transactions for banks and fintech companies. You can also achieve cross-chain interoperability, wherein basically different blockchain networks would communicate and share data seamlessly. Uh, okay. So moving on to the certification overview, like what is the purpose? So this would The certification program is designed to validate your expertise in Hyperledger Besu. So, so basically an open source Ethereum client. So this certification is ideal for developers, architect, and blockchain professionals. So this again, the exam structure is again 90 minutes, a proctored and multiple choice question test. And again, you would need to have 75% of the total marks in order to pass. So the topics like blockchain propagation, like how data spreads across the blockchain network, Genesis file, the file that would initialize the network, the gas concepts, the fee required to execute transactions uh, or smart contracts, Ethereum address, you would need to understand the format that is being used for Ethereum addresses. Then the trilemma, balancing decentralization, security, and scalability. The nodes computer that maintain and validates the blockchain. Then public-private keys like cryptographic keys for securing transactions. Then coming on to the network, so you have uh, RPC node configuration, like how do you set up a remote access to interact with the blockchain node? You would need to focus on this topic. Then nodes that validate a transaction and create blocks, synchronization method, like how nodes, different nodes that are in the network update the copy of the blockchain. Then consensus mechanism like QBFT and POA, how do they work and how do they play role into these networks? Then node discoveries, like how node finds and connect to each other. Uh, then private networks like blockchain restricted to authorized participants. How do you make that up? Then transaction for the transaction and storage topics, this is again 14%. You would need to understand the token standard like ERC20, fungible and non-fungible tokens. Then Merkle trees, how do they validate or you can say ensures the integrity of the data into the blockchain. And you have world state, how uh, that state is stored, like the accounts and the contracts. Then account state, like balances and the data associated with the account, and storage mechanism, how data is stored into the blockchain. Then you have to focus on the cryptographic topic as well, like the how transaction signing is done, how elliptic curve cryptography is used in Ethereum, then symmetric and asymmetric encryption communication. Then moving on to permission and privacy, uh, you need to understand what is on-chain permissioning, like restricting blockchain access to authorized user, or and uh, private transactions, like transaction visible which are visible to only authorized entities or selected participants. Then moving on to execution engine and consensus, you need to understand like what is EVM architecture, like what are transaction pools, what are block validation, like how blocks follow consensus rules and how they are committed. And then you need to also focus on the monitoring part as well, like how Grafana tool is used for visualizing the performance metrics, and high availability blockchain network you can maintain, then the load balancers into the network. So this was about the overview. So moving on to technical skills, if you want to be the smart contract developer. So for Hyperledger Fabric, you would have to focus on Golang or JavaScript. So these two languages are uh, prominently used for development of the smart contracts. For Ethereum, you can use Solidity for writing the smart contracts, and then you would also need to know the JavaScript in order to write the test cases in order to validate if the functionality is working as per the expected. Then you can learn a backend framework like Node.js, a front-end framework like React.js. So if you are new or if you are someone who wants to start, you can focus on the JavaScript because this is the language which is basically used in everywhere. So pick that language, try to understand how the contracts work, how the backend framework works, how they interact, and what are different building blocks that play the role. You would also need to familiarize with the administration skills like Linux and Linux Bash scripting, DevOps, and Docker and Kubernetes, which would help you set up a, you can say, private blockchain network like Hyperledger Fabric, where you can have different Kubernetes, you can say, uh, containers or pods for different organization, different namespaces you can specify. And you also would also need to have some familiarity with the NoSQL databases like MongoDB. So now, if you want to start with it from a scratch, if you are new to this, you can go to codingbootcamps.com. So it offers free courses wherein you can learn more about Hyperledger Fabric and Ethereum, which are main blockchains, and then maybe build, you can say, base concepts uh, and these are different free courses that are on YouTube. You can go through them and start learning so that you have a hold grip to this technology and blockchain. So, uh, as covered previously, these are some of the crash courses and the courses on Hyperledger Fabric and the programming courses which you can learn in order to hold the grip to this technology. So these are for a Besu certified professional certification exam, and you can go through these links. I think David will share this presentation with you after it is over, and then you can take your time and go through it. So these are again additional resources from the Linux Foundation and open source team. Like you can again go through it. So there are very good courses available. Also, when you're buying this course, you get a bundle offer as well. So there is a you can say bundle that is in place. So you can follow that as well in order to clear the examination. It is as per the syllabus that is defined for the exam. So yeah. So that was it. This was my time. So if you are maybe want to chat with me, collaborate with me, or uh, have some software development needs, you can reach out to me on the LinkedIn channel that I have mentioned. And my intention of this session was to like familiarize with the blockchain technology. As the time was very less, I had to rush a bit, but so. Uh, Yes, that was it from my side. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them. Uh, yeah, Kyle, you can go ahead.
Oh, awesome. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. So looking at the Linux Foundation course for the Besu certification,
Mhm.
is the rather is the course or the learnings for this only on codingbootcamps.com, or when you purchase the exam, is there some kind of materials that you can use to prep for the exam from the Linux Foundation?
Okay, so Coding Bootcamps is like a YouTube channel. Okay, you can also contact them on the email ID mentioned if you want to have some personalized training need. But this is like a more of a YouTube channel that provides a free course, a free, you can say, uh, uh, YouTube tutorials on certain topics. And when you purchase a certification exam like Hyperledger Fabric Certified Practitioner HFCP or BCP, so while purchasing, you get an option to purchase them with the bundle. So you can purchase them with a bundle, and they will give you uh, the, you can say, proprietary material for you to prepare. Uh, yeah. So that is
Yeah.
it.
Navil, I can add to that. Do you mind if I share my screen real quick?
Sure.
So I put a link in terms of what the Linux Foundation offers. I did put a link in the Zoom chat here, and let me share my screen too. So there are some resources in terms of the Fabric side of things. There is this Fabric course that's brand new. It launched at the end of last year, so this is up to date. It has the latest information about Fabric. There was an older Fabric course that people on the call might have taken that was for an older version of Fabric that's been taken down and replaced by this one. So just be aware that this is a brand new Fabric course. This could help you prepare for the Fabric exam. There isn't currently something similar to that in terms of a course for Besu yet. I mean, we evaluated putting a course together last year, and our feelings was that the Besu technology was moving so quickly, it wasn't quite ready for a course. Fabric's a little bit older and a little bit more mature and stable. So we are going to look at putting a Besu course together and make that available probably later this year. What we are doing on the Linux Foundation side to help people prepare for the Besu exam, though, is we're going to do an online workshop. Probably be about 3 hours. They'll go through a lot of content. So just be aware that's coming soon. I can send a link to everybody who signed up for this meetup to that when it becomes available. I think we're planning to do that in March. Just be aware. But you can see the other things that the Linux Foundation offers. So these certifications, this Fabric course, and then some other courses as well, mostly some introductory material about concepts and identity solutions, for example, and some other things. So you can, this page is a useful resource.
Can I just ask if I've done the Fabric course, and I think what's in it sort of makes sense, but when is that enough to take the exam, or do I need more than the course?
Yeah, Peter. So so Hyperledger Fabric you are mentioning, right?
It's the Fabric course, that's the LFS 270 course. I've done that, and I've been doing during the course they ask questions, and I've passed those. Would that be enough for the certification exam, or do you need to have more hands-on experience or a lot more experience? How does that work?
Okay, I think that alone tutorial would not be sufficient. So basically, here's a pro tip. So what you do is you go to the syllabus page of the Hyperledger Fabric Certified Practitioner, and you will find different topics. So I will just share my screen very quickly. So let's say suppose you come here, right? So you go here and you search for fundamental of blockchains, right? And so 16% constitutes of these 5 important topics. So you copy this distributed ledger copy, and then you go to Hyperledger Fabric docs, okay, and then you search here. Okay. And if you search, you will find different references, how ledgers. So what are ledgers? How are they used? So this documentation is very detailed and very good. So if you go through it, and it will give you very detailed understanding. And going through like every topic into the docs will help you really prepare the exam. Like that's how I actually prepared for the exam and cracked it. So yeah, this activity I would recommend you to do before appearing for the exam.
Thank you.
Do you have any kind of like example sheets with some example questions to see like what's the technical depth, because it can vary greatly. So for the Besu.
Okay, so for Besu, I'm not aware. To be very honest, I have not given it. For Hyperledger Fabric Certified Practitioner, you can get questions like what is the chain code life cycle? How you need to, like, for example, uh, 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 first you need to install, then approve, then commit, then there would be question related to where do you specify the orderer configuration, or where do you specify the peer configuration. So such questions you can expect. I hope that I answered.
Okay. Yeah, kind of. Okay. So
Yeah.
no example questions available. Okay.
Yeah.
And I had another question that you showed that on-chain permissioning and private transactions are still part of the Besu certificate, although you have already announced that this feature is set for sunset, so it's not going to be available in the next major Besu version. So why is it still part of it? You're on mute.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to that. We
Yeah.
put the so, you know, as I just said before when we were talking about evaluating, if that was a good time to put together a course, the technology does change. You know, as we saw with the Fabric cert and the Fabric course too, you know, we always have to evaluate, you know, do we need to update things? So we put the content together for the new Besu exam the same way we do for all the other ones, with the, you know, the content that was available at that time, and then we'll always have to revisit, you know, all of these things have to be updated. So, you know, as things change, we'll have to come back and make some changes. But this content was put together kind of in the middle of last year and reflected the state of things at the time. And so again, these things will be updated going forward. But that was the state of the project at the time the content was put together.
Okay, but we will always be able to review like what's the current state of the certificate questions, like the topics that will be in, or so on that website. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, the Linux Foundation training team will, yeah, constantly evaluates that stuff, and as we need to, you know, so there was an earlier version of the Fabric cert, for example. So that Fabric cert has gone through a kind of a change as Fabric itself has changed too. So yeah, there was an earlier version of the cert, and then Fabric changed, and then we needed to update that. So the same will happen with the Besu cert over time.
Okay, thanks.
So I have a question.
Yes, please.
So who is going to be providing the training courses?
I kind
Or
of didn't
is it
get a
self-
question like which training courses are you expecting?
So my question has more to do with teachers. Are there going to be teachers, or is it something you have to self-learn?
Okay, so you can always go for the self-learning, like maybe read the documentation and see if you can understand it. If you are not, then uh, uh, as mentioned in the uh, slides, you can go to my coding bootcamps. So they have a vast variety of tutors who are specifically trained for this. So you can contact them, and they can help you like uh, take baby steps in order to learn the technology and pass the exams.
My question has more to do with like workforce training. I need an instructor. David, can you
Okay.
do that?
Yes,
I mean, so there are organizations that offer that. Yeah, I mean, you can reach out to, yeah, as Navil was saying, there are organizations that have expertise in Fabric that can do that. In terms of the Linux Foundation, we only offer, you know, on the, you know, Fabric and Besu side, self-hosted or you know, self-guided online experiences, but there are organizations that offer, you know, tutoring and in-person, you know, instructor-led experiences.
Thank you.
and maybe you can reach out to me, and we can have this communication taken there.
Okay, very good.
Hey, I have a question.
Yes.
I would like to know if there's any voucher or coupon to have a discount on the exam, because it's $250. So I don't know if there's something like that. but I'll be interested if it has.
Yeah, I can speak to that. The Linux Foundation regularly does run promotions and discounts. So I mean, the short answer is yes. You'll just need to keep an eye on the Linux Foundation. Here, I'll get to that website. There was, for example, at the end of last year, a very big Cyber Monday sale, for example, on these things. So here, let me get you the link. So this I'm putting in the Zoom chat. This is the website for the Linux Foundation education team. You can see here they have regular, I'm looking at it right now, and there's a 35% promotion that they're offering. So yes, I mean, there will be, and there are regularly promotions for discounts.
Thanks.
And just to be clear, a lot of the stuff the Linux Foundation offers is free. Like most of the courses are free too, but for some things like this exam where there are some, they need to be proctored by somebody and there's some costs associated with them, just to put some context on it. That's why some of these things that the Linux Foundation offers has some amount of, we have to cover the cost somehow. So, but many of the things we offer on training are definitely free. And I see a comment in the Zoom chat about please send the PowerPoint. Yeah, I'm gonna email everybody who signed up to this meetup the slides, Navil's slides, and the recording and the links to some of the things we discussed.
So you're gonna send it via email? Sorry, David.
Yeah, so everybody, yes, if you had signed up to this meetup on meetup.com, yeah, I will send you an email.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Navil, I see there's a new question that just came in.
Yeah, so basically for any MCQ based exam in the Hyperledger, so you need to have at least 75% as a passing percentage. So let's say suppose there are 100 questions, you need to have at least 75 questions to be correct. So yeah.
Great,
Any more
thanks.
questions?
Yeah, any other
Yeah.
questions?
For me,
Please.
thank you guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
great. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank
Oh,
you,
wait,
everyone.
wait.
Bye-bye.
There
Nice
was
day.
one, wait,
Thank you.
sorry, one last question just came in, Navil, about coding challenges.
Yeah, so these are MCQ based questions. There will be no coding challenges. So you just need to choose any one question that is right. It is not again multiple. You don't have to multi-select. It will be just a radio button. You will only have to select one option, and there will be only one option that would be correct. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for that. Hey, well, thanks everyone. And again, look for those links. I'll send that out in just a little bit. And thanks, Navil, for
Thank you,
presenting.
everyone.